This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. We continue our hour of new releases with a love letter to 2007 Brooklyn. Before Obama, before the Barclays Center opened, and before real estate went through the roof. It's titled Last Night in Brooklyn. Set in Fort Greene, the novel follows 26-year-old Nuyorican Alicia at the crossroads of her life. She returns home to save money for her wedding, while her fiancé, a man she met while visiting her father's family in Oak Bluffs, attends medical school in Syracuse. However, the distance puts a strain on the relationship. As he studies to become a doctor, Alicia explores a new side of herself, alongside up-and-coming professionals in her neighborhood in search of their own version of the American dream. The novel explores themes such as gentrification, socioeconomic class, and what it means to be from a place that is rapidly changing. Author Xochitl Gonzalez is also the author of the critically acclaimed novel Olga Dies Dreaming and Anita DeMonte Laughs Last. I began our conversation by asking Xochitl why she chose to set this story in 2007 Fort Greene.
So, it's in some ways a Gatsby reimagining, and I wanted to think about another time where it felt like we were just making money in our basements and and everything felt up and up and up and you thought there was no down. Mm-hmm. And that '07 summer, it was like, even if you didn't love Hillary or Barack, you were like, oh my God, but we might make history. Yeah. Like it was this idea that you were going to participate in tremendous change and cracking open America. And then also people were so rich. And it felt like everybody was kind of rich. And there was still a third layer of middling job that I think now is AI driven, that you kind of really did leave at 6 and you could go and have a great time with your friends.
Yeah.
So it was really a moment of possibility. And I felt like it seemed the right moment to center, sort of reimagine this kind of classic American tale of classism.
You wanted your protagonist, Alicia. She's Alicia. She's sort of at an in-between point in her life.
Yeah.
First of all, what qualities did you want her to have, your character?
So I wanted her to sort of be... I wanted her to be rooted in Brooklyn. And she's not from a sexy part of Brooklyn. She's from Gravesend, and she had gone to Yale. And so she had this sort of insight. She's had a bunch of insights into a better way to be. Mm-hmm. And I think she's just not sure. Is that better?
Is it better?
She's skeptical. And so she's always been forced to kind of live between worlds. And she finds herself now in her own hometown, living in another version of her own hometown. And on the one hand, and she's actually really seduced by it. She's feels really seduced. And so she's kind of thinking am I buying into this other life now? Because it's kind of populated with the people that she sort of thought she didn't like. And on the other hand, she finds a friend circle. And that kind of makes this place feel like home in a way that no place had really felt for her before. And in a way that clearly her fiancé didn't feel.
Well, let's ask about James. How attached is she to the idea of marrying James?
She is so into the idea of marrying James. And I think that that's also very aughts, because I really feel like if you were a high-performing woman, you kind of did all of the things and you got into a great school, and then it was either med school, law school, or marriage.
Yeah.
and you're now what do I do with myself? And then of course her mother really likes the idea of James, and then that makes her really like the idea of James. And then James is nice. He's a nice guy. So I don't think that he ever really I don't think he ever quite titillates her, but he's really nice. And she knows, she's got this sense that she's well, that is the right thing to do. And in that sense, my mother is probably correct. And I should just be with this nice guy. But life and that feeling of not having everything so safe is also really titillating.
Enter Mateo.
Enter Mateo, as things happen sometimes, yes.
What does Mateo offer her that James doesn't?
Mateo is not attached to a plan. I think at one point she talks about James. She's when James is told a good idea, nothing is going to sway him from it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Mateo is sort of you know what, this sounds good. Like, do you feel like going over to Red Hook now and staying up all night and like then going into a dance party? It's like anything goes for him. And I think that he's so in the moment, and he's hot. He DJs, like he's like sort of like the guy who knows where the party is, and he's got good taste. And it's like he feels so like present and alive and not kind of putting everything off to the future. And I think that she's really interested in this present and maybe not doing everything towards the future.
We're talking to Xochitl Gonzalez about her latest novel, Last Night in Brooklyn. It revisits 2000 Fort Greene through the eyes of its character, Alicia, and it represents the different aspects of the American dream. Throughout the novel, Alicia has a sort of an internal monologue, sort of reconciling her Puerto Rican heritage through her mother's side and the possibilities / opportunities through her sort of wealthy African-American father's side of the family. But that relationship is complicated.
It's very complicated.
What makes it complicated?
So she was the product of like a summer fling between her dad and a paralegal at his law firm, and her mom being the paralegal. Like she'd gotten her associates at John Jay, very proud of it. And like, and she is literally thought that this, like her mom kind of thought this was the ship that had come in. And then he just disappears. And rather than like be even like mad about it, she kind of pines for it.
Yeah.
And so this whole like, she's sort of, Alicia's kind of like shaped in reaction to her mom's love addiction. And it's like, okay, like, and in a weird way, I think that's also like the appeal of James is like, she's like, I'm not that into him, but I don't know that that's good because look at how obsessed my mom was with my dad. And like, and I don't even think he's all that great, it's like, so I think like she's really torn by this, and her dad kind of wasn't around very much. And he's very arm's distance because she's kind of a stain on the family, and they're very proper and very old-fashioned. And so it wasn't like she was really fully embraced. She was just literally given the name.
What conversations did you want to have around race and color?
I really wanted to talk a lot about kind of elitism that exists within communities of color, because I think that I've written a ton about elitism and racism, sort of in like the larger world and in upper class circles. And I think that stuff still means something and plays out within minority communities also. And, there's a line that she has later on where she's like, you actually probably couldn't even tell the difference between my mother and my father. Like, cause like she's like my father's so light skinned and my mother's so relatively like dark as a Puerto Rican woman that like, I don't know who I took after, but it doesn't matter because I'm never seen as fully this and I'm never seen as fully that. And this idea of what gets you excluded and what gets you included, I think was also a conversation that, I think is something that a lot of the Latino community is often having and should be having more. I think it's a lot of conversation that happens within the Afro-Latino community and the Black American community. And I think just, I felt like I had those conversations with friends and I hadn't really gotten to talk about it here. And I think the class side, I think a lot of us don't like to talk about it all.
I was going to ask you, like, when you talk to your friends about it, are people like, oh, I'll have a beer instead? Or like, do they want to talk about it? Or
I think that I write about class a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that now people feel safer talking to me about it. And I think I write about it because I'd always kind of talked with my friends about it. And you start to like learn ways to talk about privilege that in fact I don't even like using that word because I think it like shuts people down, but I think it's like the difference that a well-resourced childhood makes versus like an unresourced childhood. And I think she encounters like a big part of the book is that she encounters her neighbor, this woman LaGarza, who is literally kind of one of these people that's made from scratch, like completely. And even though she doesn't make a big deal of it, she does get help. Like she does know how to operate. She can turn that on and walk into those spaces and harden her R's. Like Alicia,
she code switches.
She code switches. She can go and play tennis, and I think she sees in this woman and kind of admires it because she understands how she didn't get any of thing like I think like a diamond, like she didn't get any of that diamond polished at all by like in prep to try to enter this world. And I think she both sees that she hates that happened to her, but then she also sees how it's helped her. And she also kind of likes getting to go out to somebody's house in the Hamptons. Like she, like she's like, at one point she's like, I didn't particularly like the way my family treated me, but those beaches are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like it's like when I would go up to the vineyards. So I think that she's a little tormented by it, but she does see that it gave her an advantage that her own mother didn't have. Like, right? Like, because her mom really was like, oh, this is what it's like over here in Manhattan. Like, that seems nice. And then, like, felt she needed a man to give it to her, like, and I think that she's sort of at least is a real observer, but she's also like taking those observations, and a lot of the book is like what she's then learning. And I love that part of life, and it was like a lot of fun to write that phase of life.
Yeah.
Right? Like when everybody you're meeting is a lesson.
It's interesting, LaGarza, I want to bring her up. It's someone Alicia knows from her neighborhood who is often called Gigi.
Yeah.
In the book. What's the difference between Gigi and LaGarza?
Gigi is like soft, and she is tender, and she is like all love, and sends her brother, who's in the military, like a letter of encouragement every month. Like Gigi is making you dinners, and LaGarza is like showing up to a party ready to be put in page 6. Like, like LaGarza is like she steals herself. She's like Sasha Fierce. Remember? It's like, but everybody thinks LaGarza is LaGarza, and most people don't get to see Gigi. And it's like, and Alicia lives across the street, and she's like slightly obsessed with her neighbor, and she sees her being Gigi before she even knows what Gigi is, because she sees her having coffee and writing in her diary and like staring off into space. So like Gigi is the girl that she thinks the world's too rough for, and probably it is, and LaGarza is New York tough, and she's ready to be seen. And I think a lot of the time, especially as a woman, when you're trying to make a name for yourself, you have to have that persona. Like, yeah.
I'm talking to Xochitl Gonzalez about her latest novel, Last Night in Brooklyn. There's a character in the book that constantly refers to Brooklyn like Paris. Why does she choose Paris?
There was a period of time in Brooklyn around this era when this book was shaped that everybody was walking around with like handlebar mustaches, and like the next thing you know, like it was like the people would speak with like bated breath about like, did you hear they're opening a cheese shop? Like it was like, it was like there's going to be artisanal cheese. Like it was like so. And so as a native Brooklynite, people were, and that was kind of around the same time that they opened up that French immersion school in Carroll Gardens, and it was like this bizarre obsession with things French opening in Brooklyn as a signifier to Brooklyn finally getting nice, and it would. There's always a little bit of me in these characters. It would make me nuts, like because I was like, I have been to Paris. This is nothing like Paris.
Right.
Like it's like this is nothing like Paris. And so, but there was this idea that if we could make this like Paris, then it would finally be really nice. And then us having moved here would have been worth it. Like it was that risk taker, like the person that bought the brownstone, but like maybe didn't love the block at the time. It was like, but now we're getting a cheese shop.
Everything's great.
Everything's great.
It's interesting because there is a character who talks about Brooklyn having potential, which could be seen as a positive or can be seen as a pejorative.
Yeah. And I think he sees it as a pejorative. I think there's that same character. There's a scene where the now defunct Blue Ribbon Brooklyn, and he's like, if only you had more of these, then it would really be something, And she's like, well, then it would be Manhattan,
right?
Which, we could argue about like if that maybe has slightly happened.
It's true. You obviously, if people follow you on social media, they know that you write a lot about gentrification.
Yes.
What do you think has been underreported about it?
I think that what actually doesn't get looked at is there's a lot of work now. I'm finishing a nonfiction book about class, but
great.
Yeah, but like what I found out was that when I moved to my grandparents, because I was, my mother is a socialist activist, so I went to live with them so I could be settled, and it was 1980, and 10% of Brooklynites had college degrees, and so it was truly like a working class place and a blue collar place because people, you couldn't get a New York Times outside of Brooklyn Heights, like to save your life, right? Like if you needed it for a school project. project. You're like, I don't know when to get a New York Times. Like you were getting the Post and the Daily News. And so like, and then by the time I think 2000 census, maybe 2010 census, I think 40% of Brooklynites had a college degree. And so that is a fundamental shift of we can call it racial, and we can often talk about it racially, but it is also a fundamental like culture value shift because, when you are living with fiscal precarity, you tend to be more communal because you're like, you might need my help today, you might need my help later. And if the entire point of college in America, four-year college in America, is like finding your individuality and your thing. And so it's really like truly a values change. And I think that was the thing that I read that data point and I was like, well, this makes a lot more sense. Like, and it felt less amorphous. Like, right? Like, yeah.
I don't want to give away the end of the book, but was that always going to be the end of the book?
Yes, because
it's not necessarily a happy end.
No, but I was very inspired by taking on a kind of Gatsby-esque tale, and there was a certain inevitability. And she's kind of a metaphor for Brooklyn in and of itself. And it was a bit of an inevitability, but we won't give away the end.
We won't give away the end, but I was curious if that was always going to be the end, and it sounds like it was.
Yeah, I think it was more the how that I spent a lot of time noodling.
That was my conversation with Xochitl Gonzalez and her recent novel, Last Night in Brooklyn. Listeners, if you're signed up for the Summer Reading Challenge, don't forget that it ends on September 7th, and you can head to wnyc.org/Summer Reading Challenge to fill out the form if you've completed all your books. And that's all of it for today. I'm Allison Stewart. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you. I'll meet you back here next time.